Well, welcome everybody to Spinal Network's podcast series. And it's going to be an exciting one. We have somebody that I've known for a few years and with a great story and some great information to share, and a new dad. And so we have Josh Basile with us today. But first, let me just introduce myself. I'm Rick Hayden. I'm the executive director of Spinal Network. I'm a 45-year post spinal cord injury manual chair user. I am wearing glasses, and even though I'd probably like to lie to everybody and say I've got this great head of hair and I'm this 40-year-old stud, we're going to say no, I'm heading towards 67 and I have virtually no hair, but I am wearing a gray collared shirt. So there's a white background. It says Spinal Network, Independence, Resources, and Community. And the letters are in blue, and in between the L on Spinal and the N on Network is this orange squiggly. And the person who designed this put that in to represent a spinal cord. So with that, I'm going to introduce Josh and let him introduce or describe himself.
Thank you, Rick. So I am a white male. I am 36 years old. I'm wearing a vest, a tan vest with a red long sleeve shirt. I'm sitting at my computer in my power wheelchair, and I've got a mouth stick controller in front of me, which I use to control my mouse cursor, and I have a cup of water with a straw so I can sip on, and just in my background, just a family photo and a little piece of art, and I'm happy to be here today, Rick.
Great, this is going to be fun, Josh. I've been looking forward to this, and I should have mentioned, yes, a white male. Every time I do this, there's something I forget that I have to throw in later, but that's okay. I have this, it's kind of a standard question that I use to get things rolling, so to speak. So I'm going to throw this out right now. But Josh, if you could tell everybody kind of your journey from the time when you had your accident, which was 2004, and I believe you were 18 at the time.
I was 18.
And then that whole journey through college and your postgrad work and getting your law degree. So, and then we could talk about the two organizations that you have at that point. So yeah.
So yeah, my life was flipped upside down as an 18-year-old. I was on a family vacation at the beach. It was an annual vacation I always looked forward to. And while I was in waist-high water, a wave just picked me up, threw me over my boogie board, and slammed me headfirst against the ocean floor. And I just remember hearing a loud crack, and immediately couldn't move anything below my shoulders. And I was just floating face down in the ocean and hoping that my friends would see me. And luckily they did. I was pulled to shore, and about 15 days later, I woke up in a critical unit with a ventilator in my neck, unable to breathe on my own. And I only could communicate by blinking, 1 for yes, 2 for no. And it was one of those things that, like, being silenced, I remember that, like, the day that I actually got my voice back, I wanted to make sure that every word from that moment on counted. And that's the day I became an advocate for life. And but it was anybody that has a spinal cord injury, those early days are very much the darkest days of depression and life changing. We all have to hit a big reset button and kind of relearn how to do almost everything. Everything's done, whether in a very unique, in a different way, or in a completely different way, or sometimes just changing kind of the angle or how you get to do different things, depending if you're in a power chair or a manual chair or whatever physical functionality you might have. But I had to relearn everything. And luckily I had an incredible support system of family, friends. I was able to bring on different caregivers to function as my hands. And the whole team allowed me to do some pretty incredible things that in the early days, I really didn't know what my future would hold for me. And I could go on and on. Is there anything you want me?
Well, and then you, at that point, it was, you decided, that the next kind of phase of your life's journey was going to be in the educational setting, and you took off for college.
So yeah, so right after my injury, so often for newly injured families, it's just not the physical paralysis that takes over your life. I like to call it the mental paralysis of depression and just thinking in general of what to do next. And so with that mental paralysis, which sometimes beats down people and it gets them kind of stuck from moving forward, and sometimes it makes them move way backwards. But it's for me to kind of overcome that mental paralysis. I ended up enrolling the semester. So I got injured in August. That January, I enrolled in a local community college and took a poetry course. And that really was game changing for me to figure out who I am now. Am I the same person? What does my future hold? What do I want to do with my future? I was able to kind of dive deeper into my own kind of inner thinking and found that, I wanted a future. I wasn't going to let anything stop me. I'm a big believer that the only person that can stop me is me. And from better understanding of myself, that really changed my life early on. And then I ended up enrolling in my state's vocational program. So every single state in the country has a vocational program that helps people with disabilities either pursue an education with the goal of getting back to work. So I was able to do 60 credits at the local community college. And then I enrolled in my state college, University of Maryland, College Park, and finished another 60 credits and graduated as a communication major. And during those times, I learned to become a really strong advocate. But I wanted to take it to the next level, and that's where law school came into the equation. Next thing I know, I was a full-time student and graduated magna cum laude, near the top of my class, without ever flipping a page with my hands. And I attribute that a lot to obviously my family and caregiving, but technology was the big game changer of knowing what's out there to allow me to kind of absorb information, digest information, and then also put information to paper or digital paper, if you want to call it that. But it's technology was game changing for me. Like I use this to control cursor. I can see types for me. So I have all my books PDF'd so that I can then also take notes on the pages, but I have a reading software that would read it to me so I can see it and hear it. And with my unique learning styles, that was really, really important for me to be able to get through sometimes 2 to 3 hours of reading per night in law school. So it's, yeah. And now since graduating and passing the bar, I'm a medical malpractice attorney and help families across the country that have been catastrophically injured, and try to help them not only, as a mentor of how to navigate all the government programs in your community that can let you live the most independent life possible, but also kind of building out the life care plans. Like I know what it costs to live with a spinal cord injury, and it should always be customized for families. It should never be like a boilerplate they use from one client to the next. It should be customized because everybody deserves to live the best quality of life possible within their unique functionality. And every spinal cord injury in my eyes is different. and the different supports that you have, the different house you live in, all the different things impact your ability to live independently and quality of life. So I do that, and I love that. And I have a nonprofit called Determined to Heal, and we get to families early on to help simplify the transition into life with paralysis. When I was first injured, I started just sharing my story, and I ended up writing a 130-page kind of a breakdown of different pages and sub pages, kind of encompassing my life as a quadriplegic at my unique level. And as I started mentoring families, I quickly recognized that my story was just a piece of the puzzle. Every vertebrae of a spinal cord injury branches out to a different body part, whether it's motor or sensory. It's a whole different world depending on your unique world. So we need to have mentors for each one of those levels of injury. That's when I created spinalpedia.com. And we started taking content from the internet, whether from websites or from YouTube with videos, and taking that content made by the community, made by members of the spinal cord community, and breaking it down by physical functionality. So there's 20 plus tags that you can put for each piece of content. And this year, we ended up surpassing 22,000 videos since 2007. So you go to the website, you put your exact functionality in, you have anywhere from 500 to 1,000 mentors to show you what's possible within your unique world. And I'm a big believer, if you can see somebody else do it, there's no point to have to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody else has done it, learn from that. It doesn't mean you have to do it the way they do it. That just gave you an option, and gives you kind of a little creativity of how can I make this work for your unique situation. So there's so much that we can do as a community. And I love the community building. It's just my mentors early on in my injury transformed and changed my life. I remember, there's a guy, Tim Strachan, who was injured 10 years prior to me on the same beach that I was at. And he was at the same, he was in high school still, but about to graduate high school. But the next thing I know, he went to community college. He then went to University of Maryland. He then went to law school. He then got married, and then he had kids. I was like, if Tim can do it, I can do it too.
And you have.
Yeah, I read it. So about 2.5 weeks ago, I became a daddy to a beautiful baby boy. And so it's knowing that somebody else did it, it gave me confidence that I could do it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the community, and we've had discussions, through the years about, the importance of community and mentoring, and one of the things that you do, and you actually are part of a group that provides is one-on-one employment mentor for those folks that want to get back to work. And the biggest fear from what we see, and regardless of how many workshops we put on, where I have a great contact with Social Security and the PASS program, and Michael's done many workshops, explaining how it's just not cut and dry. If you go back to work, it's not, I go back to work, I lose everything, and if it doesn't work, then what do I do? And he explains all this, that there's a safety net, and there is a period of time when you're you're able to really trial this to see if you're going to be able to do it. And regardless of all of that, people still have this thought in their head that if I go back to work, everything stops, and if it doesn't work, then I'm on a raft in the middle of the ocean and with nobody around, so when we've had conversations and you talked about the one-on-one employment mentoring, I think coming from you, it has a greater impact because you've done it. So tell us a little bit about this.
whether you are newly injured or trying to pursue employment, there's nothing that says you have to do it alone. The people that do it alone have actually a much more difficult time because it's hard. Life is hard, and life becomes harder with the spinal cord injury or any type of disability. And doing it together as a community gives you knowledge, gives you support, gives you just information on what to do and what not to do, what mistakes not to have. So often when people pursue employment, they end up making mistakes that are preventable. And it is a complicated system of benefits, but there's programs out there. Like one is called the Ticket to Work program. And basically Social Security knows that getting back to work is difficult to navigate the rules. So they will actually invest money in making sure that you have a benefits counselor. Doesn't cost you a penny. And that benefits counsel will help you kind of navigate the ins and outs of making sure you follow all the rules, but also kind of to develop like a comprehensive game plan. So you know all of your different options, and then it's up to you to choose which path you want to take. So, but it's key when you're pursuing employment to like kind of match up with people that are knowledgeable about it. And so I work with an employment network, and I do kind of the one-on-one mentoring for the families while they do the benefits counseling. And it kind of creates a perfect team to help people within the paralysis community kind of do it and do it really well, and not have to, how to communicate with Social Security. So a lot of times you need to report your earnings, but what are your earnings? How much are earnings? What are an impairment related work expense? What is substantial gainful activity? There's all these little things that if you have somebody to kind of help you package that, it's like, oh, it becomes really, really easy. And you don't make the mistakes. Like I've known people that have gone back to work and didn't report properly to Social Security. And they ended up collecting their Social Security check while being creating earnings. And after their ticket to work months ended, they didn't report anything to Social Security. And after 2 years, they owed $10,000. I even knew somebody that did it for 10 years and owed $200,000. And the fact is, if you kind of follow the rules, play the rules, you don't have to make those mistakes. And there can be a team person there next to you to like help you on that journey. But there's no doubt going back to work is one of the best things that anybody with a spinal cord injury can do from a quality of life standpoint, whether it's just purpose of waking up every morning and being able to come in or be able to contribute to something that you're trying to do in the world through that job, but also the money that comes to you. A spinal cord injury is the most expensive injury anybody can ask for. And being able to invest more dollars into your quality of life, it does make an impact. And Social Security, in my eyes, holds people back from a better future, a better quality of life as well. So getting back to work through the state's vocational program, through programs like the Ticket to Work, and just, if you ever want to talk about it, Rick mentioned, I do mentor anybody that wants to pursue work. Anybody that's just starting work can get them enrolled in the Ticket to Work program. There's great things out there for people that are wishing to pursue work.
And I need to actually, I rotate things through when I put the newsletter together, but and I just had to write that note down because I want to make sure, because you had given me a link which goes to a kind of just a short application where people can just go put the information in, hit send, it goes to you, and then you get to take a look at this and connect with that person, when
they fill out the survey, I then set up a video call to talk with them and like, so what are your goals? What's next? What are you trying to do? Oh, you just got employed. All right, these are the next steps to make sure you do it right. Like, you don't have to be alone on this journey is kind of the big messaging that I let people know.
So I need to make sure I get that link back in there. And that's probably one of those things that probably doesn't need to be cycled out of the newsletter. It should be a constant. And I remember, going back, And I didn't have, well, I shouldn't say I didn't have anybody. I had a vocational counselor, Richard Pottsabay. I remember it. I mean, because I remember the first meeting, because I'm sitting there going, yeah, I want to go back to school, but I'm not, what is this? And now they're making me do these tests to see what my aptitude is, and going, and I still remember he sat down, he goes, okay, you qualify, or we're gonna, we'll pay for you to go back to school. And, you have a choice of bench work, electronics, or accounting. Now you got to remember, this is 1976. And they felt those were really the two jobs that anybody in a wheelchair could do. So, and I'm sitting there thinking, what? But I also knew, okay, you know what? I can play this game as well as anybody else, I guess. And shook my head and said, okay, yeah, sign me up. So I started the same thing with the local community college. And I ended up spending 3 years in a 2-year school. And I had credits everywhere. Soil conservation. I mean, I was able to, to trial these different things. And every time he would see something, he'd call me, and we'd have this discussion. But we also began to establish this relationship, and so he got to know me better. I got to know him better, and he gave me a little bit more latitude than in the beginning. And I transferred to a 4-year school to pursue a degree in physical education with a concentration on adaptive PE. And I did my student teaching. I subbed at the high school. I subbed at most of the schools there, and I coached. I was part of a coaching team in football, basketball, and I was the head tennis coach, because at that time wheelchair tennis was so big. But I also realized that back then a teacher didn't make much, and and even coaching, you didn't make much, and summer jobs, so it was just a lot to make ends meet. So I went back to school and got a degree in a business degree in marketing, and was hired on by a company in California. So I made the move from Massachusetts to California in 1987, and been here ever since, and spent 32 years working in the healthcare industry on the rehab equipment side. But getting that first job, I go off on a tangent here. Getting that first job, it's life-changing. I mean, not only do you wake up with this purpose, I mean, you feel better about yourself. Your self-image is elevated. Your quality of life is elevated. The relationship you have with people around you is elevated. I mean, everything just takes a nice upswing when that happens.
Once you get a taste of it,
oh yeah,
once you get a taste that you can do it,
yeah,
it then like, it's like, all right, I can't not taste this for the rest of my life. I want to be able to contribute. I want
yeah,
to have this better quality of life. I can do it. There's other people that are doing it. You start seeing the world in a different.
yeah.
It's going through. I love that you talk educational program. College, it pays for technology to get back to work. It can pay for a car renovation. Like there's a lot of things that every state has a vocational program that can really help you if you're serious about pursuing employment. That's the key. If you're serious about pursuing employment, they will invest in you. And I think going back to work, like you were saying, it's a game-changing experience. And
yeah,
I love it more than anything as well, because too often people with disabilities are not seen outside of the comfortable walls of their home. And the more and more people you have in the workforce, you have way more people that have voices and seats at the table to influence not only society, but the jobs, the businesses, all the different powers to be that come through employees and employers. And it's it's just very, very powerful to be able to get people with spinal cord injuries out there in the workforce. So it does a lot of good.
The stereotype, the negative stereotypes that you get a chance to help break down, by being out there, all of a sudden, people are, and there's no greater compliment than if you're in the workforce and you meet people and you establish friendships and for someone to come up, months or whatever later, and they're just having this conversation with you because all of a sudden that wheelchair has just disappeared. Now it's two people having this conversation, and and you sit back and go, yeah, okay, that's, oh, there's one more, brick, another brick in the wall that's been knocked out, and one less negative stereotype being carried around by somebody. So yeah, it's
Getting out there changes minds.
Yeah,
turns heads and changes minds. And you're saying that the vocational program in the 70s, that they gave you a list of like 1 or 2, 3 jobs that you could do. The beauty of today's world, especially with technology and the pandemic, one of the greatest things that came out of the pandemic is it taught the world that remote work can be done at a high level and it can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
So that the number of jobs that are now available have exponentially increased. So like and more businesses, and especially in the last 5 years, there's this thing called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. More businesses are focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion more than ever. And they're trying to do inclusive recruitment, inclusive hiring, inclusive retention within their workforce. They want to hire people with disabilities. It's just a matter of you being able to put yourself out there and giving yourself a chance. So
and it used to be that it was human resources. You'd have to try to negotiate with human resources for reasonable accommodations. And now these companies, like you said, have a DEI specialist or expert that's there. And so now when you're dealing with things like this, you're dealing with somebody who really has a better understanding of inclusion, and they're not fearful of that word, reasonable accommodation, because before the HR people would be going, oh my gosh, what's this going to cost us? When in reality, it's not going to cost them much at all.
50% of all reasonable accommodations do not cost anything. And most of the other ones, can be something as simple as ordering something off Amazon. And then others, there might be some that are expensive, but it's also an investment in that worker to work at a higher level. Like you're gonna by investing, $600 or $1,000 into some piece of technology that lets them do their work 3 times faster. You just got work product 3 times faster by that small of an investment.
Yeah.
And workers without disabilities, they all the time, companies are investing in them in a specific software program for them to do their work at a higher level. So it's an investment. And workers with disabilities, one of the things that I love most statistically about it have much higher retention rates than any other working population. It's like when we're welcomed into a company or a job, we're not looking for that next job to like get that $10,000 bonus or the pay raise or this and that. When we're welcomed into a company, we are the most brand loyal and employee of anybody, and we come day in, day out to work on time and work our wheels off, whatever you name it. Like we're a great investment in that respect.
Yeah. Well, the return on investment is great for a company. So, but and I want to be cognizant of your time on this. So let's jump to for a question I like to kind of close with. And so for 2022, I mean, you've already had a spectacular 2022, but what do you see throughout the rest of 2022, with your nonprofit, with any of the other things that you're involved with. And just so everybody knows, both Josh and I have been heavily involved with United Spinal Association, through the last several years. So, and that's how we met. So, yeah, for the rest of 2022, what do you see? What are some goals you may have, or what do you see happening with yourself and all that you're involved with?
So let's see. 2022 definitely started off pretty awesome. I can't complain much. I love life right now, but I'm very excited for what we can do. So with United Spinal Association, I sit on the board of the National United Spinal, and I'm very excited of our new CEO, Enzo Piscopo. He's a paraplegic, and he's just a brilliant mind, a great leader, and the direction that we're moving in nationally as an organization is incredible. We got our roll on Capitol Hill in June, where we invite voices and wheels and members from the United Spinal Association to advocate on Capitol Hill for different policies and pieces of legislation that can impact our lives. And so I'm very much looking forward to the first in-person. I think we're doing a hybrid approach to it as well, but first in-person one since the pandemic began. I think advocacy is something as an organization we do really well, but we can do better. And we need to be more, if you want to call it aggressive, or we need to know what can benefit our lives and fight for it. There's so many things within society that are kind of holding us back, or that we are not being treated just like everyone else. And it's just until we start letting those businesses know, or the government know, of different things that are holding us back to our full potential. I'm a big believer that we as an organization with our 50 chapters across the country can do more and should do more to really not let society dictate our lives, but let us dictate our lives and decide what we want to advocate for and what we want to change. So I'm very excited for that new direction with our CEO, and I'm just ready for kind of the new normal with the pandemic to set in. But before the pandemic, my nonprofit we had an Adventures on Wheels program, and we would bring families out on different adventures and be together, and not only mentor them in their homes with Spinalpedia, but get them out of their homes and go indoor skydiving, go surfing, go water skiing, snow skiing, you name it. We had 20 different adventures that we would put on for families. So I'm looking forward to this summer. I just got a call the other week from Bill Fertig, credible spinal cord advocate, and he long employee of the United Spinal Association. He just retired. I think he's working part-time right now with United Spinal, but we're going to put on a water skiing event this summer. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to being a dad and figuring out all the different ways to be present and to, I ended up calling on like about 5 of my friends with spinal cord injuries that I like to call quad fathers, that are quadriplegic and fathers, and asking and learning from them what was it like being a dad during the first year. And I got so many different suggestions of how with physical limitations of being paralyzed below your shoulders, how you can still be a dad and make those connections. And so I got a lot of great ideas, and I'm a big believer with the willingness to try and a little creativity. Most anything is still possible. So I'm working with some Johns Hopkins students. I live in Maryland, and so I'm a few towns away from Johns Hopkins University. I've got all these mechanical engineering students building a special baby carrier that's going to mount to my wheelchair so I can have the baby right near my face, and
nice.
have different like mouth sticks so I can feed the baby with my mouth
Mhm.
play with toys or read a story face to face so he can see me and know that, I'm his daddy, and I might not be able to lift him up with my arms, but I can do a lot of the little things in between there. So
It's that just that physical presence, and that really that face to face, is the most important, so, and you're going to have that and experience that and create all these memories, and that's a great resource to have, but the fact is, I mean, you reached out and said, listen, this is the situation, what, and, I mean, so it wasn't as if you sat home going, how can I figure this out? And all of a sudden you got a call from John Hopkins, I mean, so, what you have to realize what the situation is, and then how can you go about, turning it into something positive and making it happen. And then when you figure out what that is, then you need to go and get it.
you have to go and get it. And
Yeah.
that's becoming the most powerful advocate that you can be. Nobody's going to fight harder for you than you're going to fight for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be the captain of the ship.
Yep.
You have to be directing what direction you want to go. But there's nothing in the rules that say that you have to do it alone. On your life voyage, you can have, crewmates, you can have friends, you can have family, you can have students, you can have all these other people that can contribute to your life journey, and letting them be a part of that. People want to contribute. People want to give back.
Yeah.
People want to be able to say, you know what, I made a difference. So let them make a difference in your life. And, and then don't forget to give back yourself. It comes full circle. Like, there's so much that can be given, and there's so much to do and help. And that's why it's so beautiful that we are all members of the spinal cord injury community. We have this special invite. We've got our spinal cord injuries gave us something that allows us to all speak a unique language that I speak spinal cord. Like, it's the second I had my spinal cord injury, I speak spinal cord. Yeah. And now I got invited to a select group of beautiful people, and we're in this journey together. So yeah, I've made more friends and come across people like you, Rick, that I'm very lucky to know you, and look forward to continuing our friendship, our relationship, and helping people together.
Thanks, Josh. And the feeling's mutual. I mean, it's we've had conversations, and they always, run along the same line, and it's really about community and helping each other, and yet and going through this journey, with with our spinal cord injury family, and really that's what it is. I mean, it's just such a tight community, and yeah, and it's a great family. And I mean, just the little thing that I had just recently went through, and I had people sending me messages or phone calls, because they heard of, and what can we do? Is there anything you need? And and then I think about people that are going through things, and I do the same. And yeah, and that's what family does.
We have each other's backs.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you know what? We're going to finish on this positive note, and I want to thank everybody who is listening to this. Or if you went to YouTube, then you had a chance to listen and watch. And there'll be another one in a week, but this one's going up. Just so everybody knows, today's Monday. So in 2 days, this will pop up on on the different platforms that we have, and you'll be able to listen to it. So thanks everybody for joining us. Josh, thanks so much for being here. And I wish everybody a great day.